Good afternoon, David. You are muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Yeah,
Yeah, I got this stupid icon sitting right on top of my mute button.
I see.
You know how it is with these things.
So, well,
All
that's
right,
how
yeah,
it works.
I will do the intro with score.
Oh, do you have the score slides as part of your presentation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you want to do those, fine.
Yeah, so just introduce me. I'll do a little prologue and get
Okay,
right into
sounds good.
it.
In that case, I can ditch the ones that I have. Don't need these. Okay. I have us set up to live stream on YouTube. So these sessions, this session should be on the website by next week. They usually put them up on Thursday or Friday. So,
I'm happy to see we have so many attendees.
well, it's because we offered it as a district or as a region session. And so people from all 7 states in our region got notification about it. So I'm sure that's why, but that's great. So usually we get about 30, maybe 35%. But I'm thinking we'll get at least 100 people. So that makes it
Wow.
worthwhile, right?
Yeah, I know. All of a sudden I feel important.
Well, I don't think there are many chapters in the region that do any webinars on new product development.
Right. Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, I know. Considering I'm glad to hear that because, you know, we get a lot. I get a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. It's like, I do a webinar on group homes and I get so many clients who are interested in starting group homes. And I get a little tired of that. I don't know about you, but variety is a spice of life, as they say.
Yeah, every once, one time I got a group home person. Um, and she was kind of interested, but then dropped out.
Well, a lot of them do when they realize how much it's going to cost to get started. And,
Right.
they all think they can get grants or, somebody's going to hand them money. It doesn't quite work that way.
Daycare, childcare too.
Yeah. I usually, anybody interested in childcare, I send them to Starting Point. Because Starting Point is the agency that certifies daycare centers. And they also do a lot of training and they help people if they're designing a childcare facility, they help them figure out how much space they need, for their dirty areas, their clean areas. They have training sessions on how to collect payment from parents. And then, of course, they have safety training and things like that. So I just send people there and help them do their business plan. But I tell them they really need to go through the training and so forth at starting point.
Good to remember. I'll remember that.
You know, there are just so many good resources. Like I have a client yesterday who contacted me about applying for a contract to supply FEMA with the ability to shred documents and stuff. And I sent them to Apex, which used to be PTAC, because that's what they do. And I mean, I'm used to doing grants and contracts with the Institutes of Health, but I don't know anything about FEMA. I imagine there's lots of opportunities for people to help with the disaster.
I just got an email from the Geauga Chamber of Commerce yesterday. They're reaching out to local businesses about donations. And they listed, about 20 items that are in short supply
Mhm.
and they need. So, yeah, you're right. There are just so many opportunities right now.
And it seems like it's going to get worse with the next storm coming along.
Do you know anybody in Florida?
Well, I know people who have homes in Florida, but are not there now because of the situation. I actually do know a few people who live in the Gainesville area near the University of Florida that are on the faculty at the University of Florida.
Yeah, my wife's cousin and her husband have a summer home down there. And every time it gets destroyed, it's right south of Tampa. They have to spend money fixing it up.
Right.
And they just casually write a check for, 20, $15,000, whatever it is, and because there's
And
no insurance.
I know.
You can't find insurance.
When I was living in California, because of all the fires, when you live in certain areas, you can't get any kind of normal insurance. But the state has an insurance plan called a FAIR plan, but it has a deductible of $50,000. And of course, most of the damage falls within the $50,000.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
imagine it's like that with flood insurance if you can get it. But I'm
yeah.
sure that those areas that are constantly being flooded, you just wonder, I saw an interview with a guy who said that in the last 20 years, their home has been destroyed 3 times. And I'm thinking, why would you not go somewhere else where you don't have that kind of problem?
Florida's nice, but really, is it worth it?
No, I don't like Florida anyway. But even like North Carolina, my college roommate lives in the Raleigh-Durham area, and they get enough problems there too. So I think if you're on the East Coast, everything sort of rolls up along the East Coast.
Well, certainly in the last couple of years, that's the case.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost noon.
And of course, I guess we better start our webinar. It's noon.
Yeah.
So I am going to start it. Okay. Good afternoon to those of you who are joining us. we have a lot of people registered today, so we're going to wait a couple minutes to allow other people to log on, and then we will get started.
Anita, is my first slide showing there?
No,
No. Can you see this slide?
no.
Okay, then, oh, so I should share.
Mhm.
That's it, Dave.
Okay, now I can see it.
Now we're ready
Keep in
to.
mind that the attendees are not just from Cleveland or Northeast Ohio, they're from the entire region, so we shouldn't be too proprietary about Cleveland. So welcome, everybody. We're happy that you've joined us today to for the first of a series on new product development. We are very fortunate to have an expert who happens to be in our Cleveland office, Dave Lupian, and he will be presenting the session today. I will note that you will get a copy of the slides and a link to the recording within the next couple of days. So you don't really need to take notes. You will have those things very quickly. So I am going to turn it over to Dave and let him get started. So David.
Well, thank you, Anita. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to do a couple slides on who SCORE is and what we do. I know some of you may already know this, but worth repeating. Our mission and values, as everyone knows or should know, we foster small business growth. And we aim to give every person, whether it be a fresh startup with an idea or an existing business, the opportunity to work with us and uh, have their business partnered with somebody who can have been experienced for years in that category or industry that you participate in. Our services are free. We're a division of the SBA. The SBA is funded by Congress, and all of our work is given to you at no charge, which is quite a deal considering some of the experts that are on our staff. Cleveland SCORE, for example, uh, we have 90 volunteers now or greater. The slide's a bit dated, but we started over 225 new businesses in 2022. We created jobs and provided services that have helped people in 7 counties around the city of Cleveland. As I said, these slides are a bit dated. This is from 2022. We won Chapter of the Year award, and we're quite proud of that for everything that we've done, contributed to this economy. And I'm sure other metro areas that you folks are in also have great metrics similar to what we have. And I hope everyone is enjoying the services of those particular chapters. So a little bit about me. My job at Pennzoil, BASF, Scott, and Blue Coral, excuse me, was to find the good idea and then turn that good idea into a product that the company can, increase revenue with. I had the opportunity to work with marketing and sales. I am a chemist by training. So my first job with BASF, I was in the laboratory, but then eventually migrated out of the laboratory and worked with technology transfer and marketing after a while. Currently, I work with all of the economic development folks here in the city of Cleveland. Cleveland State University has a wonderful group called Weston Ideation Center, where they take students and teach them right at the college level how to be an entrepreneur. And SCORE, of course. Some of you have Jumpstart uh, franchises within your metro area. Um, so that's always an excellent, excuse me, opportunity to partner with a group that could plug you directly into venture capital and the opportunity to um, be lent money. So let's talk about part one, um, identifying and developing your idea. I developed this presentation with the idea that I want to talk about three parts of a total playbook of new product development. Number one is what we'll talk about today, and that's identifying the idea and then using that idea to vet uh, or using techniques to vet that idea, I should say. Next week, we'll talk about developing, actually producing a prototype. If it's a physical product, we'll talk about that. If it's a service, we'll talk about how to lower your risk and um, um, get your service in front of people to determine if it's a good fit for your business. Then lastly, the commercialization aspect. Once we have developed something, we want to sell it and we want to make money. And as I said, some of my background has been with sales and marketing, and show you hopefully some tricks of the trade there. So today we'll talk about service-based businesses, physical product-based businesses, whether it be B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer. I also want to, mention software and apps, social enterprises, medical devices, and something called fintech. I just completed a project with a large Fortune 500 that is an insurance company, believe it or not, who would like to get into fintech. Fintech is, financial technology and the ability to use various techniques such as AI or blockchain to expand their business. In this particular case, this insurance company was looking at home equity lines of credit. The NPD universe is large. New product development encompasses the entire economy, whether it be um, physical based or service based. So, new product development usually is focused on the entrepreneur or the Fortune 500. And I'm going to separate this right now because most of you out there are entrepreneurs and you're concerned about speed to market and minimizing risk. So, I have a yin and yang there because there is a blend of the ability to get to market quickly, excuse me, while minimizing your risk. The Fortune 500s do not want their name, on the front page with making a mistake in launching something that may harm people or that may not be completely, um, um, finalized. The entrepreneur, on the other hand, needs to make money, needs to pay bills, concerned about cash flow. Getting to the market quickly is of utmost importance. The secret here is both, whether it be an entrepreneur or a Fortune 500, uses techniques from each other. They borrow from each other, and we'll talk about that. So how do good ideas originate? Well, sitting at a stoplight, certainly. I'm sure all of you have seen ideas come to you at the most inopportune time. I think we can really make money at this. So we'll talk about how we can vet that idea. Entrepreneurs immersed in their businesses who already have a business and think about it daily have these ideas. And lastly, the big guys do something called white space analysis. And I'll show you what that is. Larger companies, I've said, do the white space. It's very simple concept. You hit them where they ain't. You have this um, opening in the market. Um, and generally, if you take your time and do this right, your product will succeed. That's why, the folks over in Silicon Valley, Fortune 100s, they spend so much time finding out what this white space is um, by doing these four basic things. You understand the competition and their pricing. There are teams in marketing whose responsibility is just simply to watch the competition. Boy, societal and business trends, always important. Current technology. Um, I talked about fintech earlier. How can we use AI, for example, to improve our ability to get in front of the customer and to determine what the customer wants? And finally, customer input, actually talking to people, whether it be B2B or B2C businesses. There is always somebody in front of a customer trying to find out um, what I just talked about, the trends, their pricing, um, you know, um, you know, the category pricing. This input is all cranked into um, developing the new product. Now, here the kicker is, if you're an entrepreneur working by yourself, you don't have these departments that you can work with. You don't have operations and marketing and sales meeting with you every Tuesday to talk about the opportunity to develop a new product in this category. You are an entrepreneur. Um, here's the stage gate process. This is why it takes so long to develop something at a Fortune 500. Their main concern is to minimize risk. So each stage of this process has a screen to it. So you complete your scoping, your fuzzy front end, then you have to get in front of a committee, generally your boss and some other folks. And, at the gate, you know, uh, then they give you a thumbs up, then you move to the next case. Yeah, I like that idea. Let's build a business case. So you move to the next gate. All right, we have a business case. How do we develop this? So after about 6 months or 7 months, they're in development. And you hear a lot of people in large companies just simply say, boy, why does everything take so long? It's because uh, your boss and his boss wants to minimize risk. However, the entrepreneur, the idea often comes first. As I said, you could be taking a shower. You could be sitting at a stoplight. Excuse me. And you'll have the new product idea. Well, generally, you simultaneously build a business case while launching. And you can do this. It's very easy. You can pivot, tweak, move back a step, move 2 steps forward very easily. You may be a one-man band, you may be 2 or 3 people in the company, but you're so close to your customer, you're so close to your factory possibly that you can make a prototype and get it in front of a customer within days. And the entrepreneur um, is concerned about risk, but uh, often that entrepreneur wants to get to market fast, as I said, and generate cash as quickly as possible. All right, so we're taking a shower, and we have that idea. Our first question is, I want to lower my risk too. I don't want to spend a ton of money developing this prototype and have it fail. I want to improve my chances of success as much as possible. So let's go through a checklist of things that um, any SCORE mentor would talk to you about. And if you were to be my client and I were to be your mentor, I would go through this checklist. And the first thing that I would ask you is, does your idea solve a problem? Can you identify a pain point? So here's the kicker. You may think it's a problem, but you have to find out if other people think it's a problem too. That is probably the number one failure point with entrepreneurs and new ideas. I think this is a problem, and I'm going to go ahead and solve and create a product to solve this problem. However, I can give you 3 or 4 examples right now, excuse me, that I won't go into, where entrepreneurs have spent thousands of dollars to identify a solution to a problem that does not exist. Only in their mind did it exist. They didn't do any customer discovery. Number two, and again, I can't think of how many times I've talked to people who have a great idea that's already been developed. Somewhere, somehow, or I'm sorry, somewhere, this idea exists. You have to do your homework, and I'll show you some websites, and I'll show you some tricks of the trade that can get that idea vetted pretty quickly in that regard. Have you talked to others about it? Now, you don't have to give your idea away when you talk to others, but you have to build your concept, and they will give you feedback. Generally, what you do is you talk about the problem. And that's surely one way to find out if others view the problem the same way you do. Uh, is it a pain point for them? It's certainly a pain point for you. So as you talk to others, you develop the concept further, and you build the concept into something tangible that you believe can make some money. And again, it becomes down to effectively describing it. What I advise people to do is to write down exactly what you think the problem is and exactly what you think the solution is, because that is the basis for either the 11-second elevator speech that you're going to have to develop when you do your pitch deck, or it could be the foundation for writing up your patent or creating some IP around your idea. Now, also, 10, ask yourself, I meant to then ask yourself, do you have a platform or a product? And here, I'm going to talk about a little bit further down the road here, the difference between a platform and a product. Investors love to see platforms. When they see an individual product, they're not so turned on with that, because if that product fails, what do? How do you fall back and create something else? Or can you tweak and pivot? Generally, a platform or a basis of knowledge that you're operating from, or a secret insight, or a secret sauce in some aspects, can produce other products. And lastly, is this product unique or is it useful? And what is the level of innovation? Generally, usefulness trumps uniqueness. If it's useful, but not very unique and not very patentable, chances are it's still a good idea and a good product, and should not dissuade you from moving forward in the development or commercialization. So I'm going to give you some never fail concepts that if you're thinking about these things, chances are you're going to succeed. Chances are you're going to make some money. And I'll start with number one, which is the strongest of all plays, as we call it, anything that saves time. How many products out there are 2-in-1s, shampoo and conditioner, for example? Anything that saves time and gets you to your result quicker, always a winner. Anything that increases personal or family safety, that's kind of a no-brainer. Many products out there, you see them on TV all the time. Anything that makes my job easier. Usually, excuse me, this is in household or, maybe crafts, lawn and garden, anything that makes my job easier. You'll see these products at Lowe's, Home Depot, and generally retail such as that. Apps. Why does everybody want to design an app? Apps provide critical information. Things that we would normally have to search for are now in front of us in a microsecond. There are apps, Waze, WAZE for traffic. It tells you immediately the quickest way to get there and if there are any cops between you and your destination. Is there any construction between you and your destination? So providing critical information, always important. Personal comfort and health, no brainer there. Superior performance over what is currently available. And that is kind of a no-brainer. Again, household products all the time, software all the time, medical devices all the time, just superior performance. And lastly, sexier look. Detroit, the OEMs, they've made their entire, history on providing better design the next year. It's just a better looking car, newer features. So in your product design and your thought process, anything that uses those concepts probably will be a winner. As an example, here's one of the most successful product launches in the last 3 years. Skechers. It simply answers 5 of the never fail concepts. It just allows you to get your shoes on quicker. Very simple concept. Who wants to bend over and try to struggle with forcing your shoe or your foot into a shoe with a shoehorn? And Skechers answered that. Brilliant. All right, let's move on to number 2. Are you the first one to think of this idea? All you have to do, boy, 30 years ago, if I had a new idea, I would spend weeks trying to see if others had thought of this also. Now you just go to Amazon or YouTube. If it's a product, geez, it's going to be on Amazon, certainly on YouTube. Plus, you could see it. You could visually see what the other guy's doing. USPTO.gov will tell you if something is patented or trademarked. More importantly, it will tell you if that trademark or patent is current. Many times you see something that's already trademarked. You think you have a great idea for a product name, but it's trademarked by somebody else, but it's not in use. They let it lapse because you have to sign up yearly to keep that trademark. And a lot of folks, had a product in 1998, but the company maybe went out of business or the company was sold, and that trademark has been left fallow. So you can jump on that and that can be your trademark. I always like to buy the competitors' products. That's close to my idea. That way I can get an idea for pricing. I can get an idea for how they make it and see if I can't steal anything. But buying the competitors' products is always a good idea. And lastly, and most importantly, trade shows. Oh boy. Just simply walk the show and see who the movers and shakers in this, in the category or the business. Back to quick checks on the web. Here are some websites you can, as Anita said, she will give you these slides, but free patents online, Google Patents. Boy, a 2-second search can tell you exactly if somebody's been in this space working, and these will help you out, hopefully. So, talking to others. I like to, stress this aspect of new product development because it's really overlooked. The whole idea of communicating and building your concept and rounding out what you believe is the solution to a problem is probably one of the most important aspects of new product ideation. As I say here, you're going to get positive and negative responses. Of course you will. Don't worry about the negatives. Use those negatives to practice selling your idea, because you're going to be overcoming uh, comments and remarks from buyers, customers, and you want to practice selling your idea because you're going to eventually get to your 11-second elevator speech. And the 11-second elevator speech is the precursor to your value proposition. Um, in many ways, you can look at the 11-second elevator speech being something you might change or tweak within a week. You're going to be changing it around. But the value proposition is something you want to put on your website. It's that tag that separates you from your competition. The little hint there is when you talk to people, you don't have to mention the idea. Just simply ask questions on how the customer uses the product or the problem itself. By uses the current product, I'm sorry, or uses a product similar to what you're trying to develop, but it may not be incomplete, completely like your product. So there are tricks of the trade there. You don't have to mention the idea and give it away. Just kind of talk around it. When in doubt, keep talking and brainstorming. Use your listening skills, lend their input, because ultimately you want to improve your idea. All right, when you have a solid concept, you must absolutely do customer discovery. It is done. It doesn't matter if you're working for Procter & Gamble, Sherwin-Williams Paint, or you're a lone entrepreneur trying to start a company. You have to locate your target customer, what you believe is your target customer, and then prove to yourself that this customer will buy your product. Excuse me. And it's just simply called customer discovery because you'll learn all kinds of things, how to price, how the customer uses it, what size do they want your product to be delivered in, or if it's a service, how do they want to, use the service, whether it be a delivery service or even, a plumber, HVAC, you're providing a service, kind of like feel it out before you launch. So, as I said, it identifies your customers and asks, will somebody really pay for this? And how will they use the product? Because ultimately, you will be responsible for the pricing and how the product is used. Is the product sprayed on? Is the product rubbed on? If it's a cosmetic or a personal care product, for example, what does the customer prefer? And here's the number one truth about customer discovery. You think you're on the right path, but generally the customer tells you, I like your idea, but I wanted to see it. I want to see something like this. Or if it was only this size and this color, I prefer that, most if I were to spend money for this. So pivoting is good. And the more you do it, the better, actually. So, a customer discovery process. Very simple. Find, 20. The more the better. But actually 5, 10 potential customers will work too. Prepare 5 to 10 questions on the problem or the current state of the existing products that they're buying. For example, kitchenware comes to mind. If you've developed a better way to peel garlic, just simply ask some chefs, how do you peel garlic? Well, what are the problems? Do you wear gloves to prevent the garlic from getting into your, under your nails and having that odor with you for days? Tell me about your process. And you just simply stop when you keep getting the same answer. At that point, you're going to be figuring out, oh, these are my features, these are my benefits, and I'm starting to come upon commonality in my value proposition. Um, your minimum viable product, or MVP, is a term that new product developers use. You want to get to that point as soon as possible. That way you can build a prototype and then further your um, discovery with customers in product usage. And then you can talk about how much will it cost to build this product, or how much will it cost to enable this service. For those introverts out there, the bad news is, you know, you have to be comfortable in talking to strangers. In this particular example, these two young ladies may want to open up a vegan restaurant in this neighborhood, and they're just simply sitting at other restaurants, talking to folks about a vegan restaurant. As I say, want to begin about the problem, the current state. Um, how would solving the problem benefit a potential target customer? It will be something, it will be common for you to hear something completely unexpected. And you'll be walking home thinking, I didn't know that. Boy. And you got to rethink and think and pivot and eventually come to the, come to your epiphany. But it will take many discussions with potential customers. So, as I said, customer discovery will eventually give you a value proposition. And that value proposition is the reason why you make money. It's the shortest sentence or statement you can make with the greatest impact. And, you know, that probably is the best definition I've ever found for what a value proposition is. The shortest sentence, the highest impact. Here's an example. These two companies were recently launched 2023, I believe. Soul in Soul. They want to compete with Dr. Scholl's, but Dr. Scholl's talks about comfort. These folks talk about foot pain. So they're simply stating, buy my product and I will alleviate your foot pain. It's a product similar to Dr. Scholl's. Nico Block, again, telling you it's 10 times more effective than trying to quit cold turkey. That's a value proposition. And ultimately, the best value proposition that I've ever seen is Shopify. Anyone, anywhere can start a business. How powerful and impactful is that? I mean, that's speaking to everyone who has an idea. I can start a business. Yeah, anyone. And I believe that's probably one of the most impactful statements, any startup uh, can say uh, when Shopify was a startup. All right. So writing down your idea. It may sound simple and trivial, but why is this important? For me, it organizes my thoughts and forces me to recognize my shortcomings or weak points in my description. Again, you kill two birds with one stone, starts the patent process. Ultimately, you're the chief salesman. Sorry, introverts, but you're the chief salesman. You might be the best software developer, the best coding person, but you're going to have to get out there and sell your app and explain the reason why your product exists. So your sales pitch can be started immediately. So do I have a platform or a product? So, as I mentioned earlier, investors and other people who want to invest in and give you money love platforms. A platform is something you can build other products off of. Um, a good, a perfect example is operating systems. You know, Garmin, uh, uh, Waze, Uber, all based off an operating system that is very similar, but different products. Some examples, I'm a chemist, so I use the example of adhesives, developed, in the 1930s. But, tape, stickers, posters, anything that can stick anything to anything. There's a company here in Cleveland called Avery Dennison that is $1 billion Fortune 500 that is made its money on turning adhesives into every product imaginable. Lithium batteries, don't have to say too much about that. They're everywhere. Lithium technology and ability to generate electricity from the use of lithium. Freeze drying, boy, when I think Charles Birdseye in the 1920s developed the ability to freeze dry vegetables. Every frozen food in the frozen food section of the supermarket has a freeze drying concept or technology behind it. B2B or service businesses, it's the same thing. Personalized food choices. That's the platform for Subway, Chipotle, and many others. Um, we talked about geolocation operating system. Again, I'm a chemist, so I'll use a chemical example of surfactants. A soap, a detergent, particle dispersions, um, the ability to make concrete stronger, all originate from something called a surfactant. And that is, surfactants are a multi-billion dollar worldwide category. Do I need a patent? Well, not you do not need a patent. However, if you want to license your technology, yes, you need a patent because that's something that is a tangible something that you sell, the patent. However, if you just want to start a business, you have to find something that's useful. However, if it's useful and unique, then you're getting into some really interesting territory here. The Apple iPhone, perfect example, but that will acquire investment interest. The death zone. I had one guy tell me about how he paces the hallway. If it's somewhat useful and somewhat unique, it doesn't have a killer application anywhere. It's just a pretty cool thing. But, does it solve a whole bunch of problems? No, really. Is it fun to you? Yeah, sort of. You have this, well, type of attitude behind it. And that's usually, should I or shouldn't I? Should I spend money on it and pursue this idea or, not? And you can lose a lot of sleep as an entrepreneur or new product developer if you're sitting in that death zone. So let's talk about getting a patent. Everybody likes, you know, this idea of getting a patent on something that that they've invented. Um, so if you think you have an idea and you've done your homework by looking at those websites that I showed you, um, create a one-page Word document. Title it. Um, First paragraph is your background. Describe the category and explain what the problem is. Then create your solution. That's the summary. Uh, you know, that paragraph's titled summary. Sign and date it and save it. Keep it on your hard drive and tweak it and play around with it and have it there because when you do go to a patent lawyer, that's the first document you give them. You've just saved yourself $200 because he's going to do that anyway. Um, and you get him started or her started on the complete search for a worldwide infringement on your idea. Step two is then consider a provisional patent first. This is a very low cost way to, get in the game, plant your flag. This will give you a priority date. That means, if August 12th, 2024, it was your date of invention, anybody in July thinking of this idea would be blocked. It lasts 12 months, and you can say legally patent pending. And I say about 1,000 with lawyer fees, sometimes, 1,500 thereabouts. But it beats 15,000 for a full-blown utility patent right out of the gate. Consider online legal services. I would be careful here. Do not consider InventHelp or any of these for service for money services, where they would say, "Oh, don't worry about patenting it. Come to us, we'll patent it for you, and we'll commercialize it for you." They just want to get your checkbook out. So be very careful here. Design versus utility. I'll just say simply a design patent is not as strong as a utility patent because others can design around a design patent. But a utility, the ability to be the first to do anything in a category or industry, that's a utility patent. And you can't really design around it. And the lawyer will use his ability or her ability to make that utility patent as strong and as broad as possible. I'll throw some do's and don'ts at you real quick. This is an entire presentation on its own, but I just want to throw these at you to make sure that you're thinking along these lines. A lawyer will, anytime you sit down with a patent lawyer, he'll preface any discussion with you by saying, is your idea non-obvious to those skilled in the art? If you're a chemist, for example, and you come up with a new formulation or a new chemical or chemical product, is it obvious or non-obvious to another chemist or to somebody who is skilled in the art of chemistry or the science of chemistry? So, as I said, consider a provisional. Before you think about a patent, think about your commercialization strategy. This has to be part of it, because a patent doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make money from this product if you start commercializing it. If you want to license your invention, however, you must have a patent. So think about that in terms of, do I want to start a company and be responsible for people, products, everything that is surrounding a company? Or do I just want to invent something and license it to somebody who can use the power of their market to make some real money? Endless examples here. And as I said, a presentation worth its own. The patent, the broadest utility concepts, the patent lawyer will help you here. Use an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, before you talk to anybody, a vendor, a customer, because that NDA will protect you. And lastly, really decide in the earliest concept or in the earliest development of your concept, what exactly are you protecting? Is this a defensive posture in your patent, or do you have something really worth protecting from the competition? if it can be obviously copied. Design patents, as I mentioned, formula patents or process patents are easy to get around or outsmart. So you have to be careful here. Um, don't publicize your invention before you begin the patent process. If you have a pitch contest, as I said, or you're talking to vendors, um, um, be careful here. Don't publicize. So congratulations, you now have all the pieces. I think that you need to begin a new product development project. I think it's time to call SCORE. They will help you. There are mentors out there like me that will, challenge you and will guide you and work with you to get your concept as sharp as possible and let you put your best foot forward to getting that product developed. For those of you in the Cleveland area and other metro areas, whether it be Columbus, Cleveland, Michigan, Pittsburgh, have landing sites for their individual SCORE offices. Just simply find a mentor and let's start working together. So next week, we're going to talk about getting into the workshop and developing your idea into a product. This could be a physical product, it could be an app, or it could be a service. So I hope to see you all next week. And with that, thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you.
Okay, so far I see one question. Well, actually two. What forms can an MVP prototype take for a new service concept for testing purposes?
So, so I understand it. It's a service, and you want to settle on a minimum viable service. Um, okay, well, I guess you would treat it much the same way that you would treat a physical product. You would talk to people about the best way that the service would be delivered and try to find pricing attached to that service or associated with that service. It's very straightforward um, in the customer discovery process. You're just simply asking questions. And if I can take this one step further, you might want to set up a scenario, um, a, a play scenario of delivering the service and invite family and friends to watch the service being performed. I hope that helps. I'm sorry if I don't quite understand your concept. Maybe you can email me further if you'd like, but I hope that helps.
Okay, Steve Lentini wants to know if he can set up a private call for advice on several of his ideas. No issues if there are fees involved. I don't know if you would like to have him contact you directly, or we should send him to our website.
Well, sure. Steve, the best way to do this is, I don't know if you're a SCORE client already, um, but if you are, you can just simply, find me through SCORE and, we can talk through that format. Um, if you want to hire me to help you, um, probably the best thing to do is to just simply work through SCORE since we met through this seminar. And I would gladly talk to you.
I will put in the chat our website and how to go about requesting a mentor. So this would apply to any of you. Okay, let's see. We have other questions. Why not design formula patents?
Um, why not design formula patents? No, you can design formula patents. I have many formula patents. Um, the bugaboo with the formula patent is the lawyer will ask you, can this be accomplished through other formulations that are similar to yours, but not covered in the claims? And that requires work, trial and error. You have to prove to the lawyer that your formula is the only formula that can accomplish the results. Now, can other people design around that formula? Yeah, they can, maybe a year from now, there's something developed or invented that allows that product to be developed, not using any of the components that you have in that formula. So again, the caveat there is a lot of work has to go into proving that only this formula can deliver the results um, desired.
Okay, how would you engage a licensed engineer in the design of your product? You need them to sign off on products used with the public.
Um, from what I understand, how to engage a licensed engineer. Oh, how to find an engineer to help you with your product. Um, the first thing that I would do is go through a university. Um, and for example, here in Cleveland, we have something called ThinkBox associated with Case Western University. In any metro area such as Pittsburgh, you have Carnegie Mellon. Um, in Columbus, you had Ohio State, of course. So any university that has a strong engineering department, you would start there first. Then, actually, if you network enough, you could maybe find a retired engineer in your field that could help you also. But I'd start with the university for sure.
Okay, I think you have answered all the questions. So thank you all for attending. We expect we'll see you next week at the same time and look forward to completing the session. So have a good day. And
Yes,
thank
thank you,
you, David.
everyone. Bye.